Welcome back to Conan Exiles, you love-filled horde of savages and savagesses. I'm Barnes, playing official PvP as the legendary Tascowat, keeping you up to date on all the happenings in our little corner of the exiled lands. And now a standard disclaimer: while most of my Conan Exiles play is in the buff, wherever possible I'll try to keep this series of videos generally safe for work. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider buying your next coffee under the name Barnes. I think this will really help spread the word about my channel and help you express your solidarity with great gaming. In Conan Exiles, one of the greatest features you'll ever experience is called the Purge, where once you've built a rocking cool base, humans and creatures show up to welcome you to the neighborhood. The bar at the bottom of the screen lets you know if the Purge threat level is high. A savage heart beats inside a threatened exile. Server mates in chats past have admonished me to just log off and make the bar shrink back down. My answer to them is, why would I do that? I'm here, my dear barbarian, to be your flesh-tearing exile, not a IRL sitting in a bathrobe, dancing in my GTA nightclub, waiting for my purge bar to go down, exile. On a quiet server, one has spare time to ponder. Combined with my newfound frankness, this free time has led me to make a confession. I have been playing on this official server for almost 7 months now, and there's been nothing but loser purges. Maybe then you can understand why I've spent a bit of time on the server lately, you know, laying around. Today, however, I'm confronting my purge head-on, and through sharing, maybe I can heal. The truth of the matter is, and speaking as a predominantly solo player, by simply not playing, solos can have way too much control over their purge destinies. That's a nice way of saying the purge is too easy to exploit. This way of life seems against the order of things, and with just a tiny amount of checking, I confirm that I haven't suffered a purge in 3.5 months. Deliberately taking time off the game to control your purge bar is one thing. Considering how much I play though, since I don't really die or build a whole lot, week after week, my purge bar is barely budging. Because each of you is likely a skull-crushing monster like me, having a constantly looming purge is starting to become a restricting force. Today, I've chosen to make up for lost time. There are a lot of things that influence the purge, but this isn't that sort of video. I'm just going to focus on logging in. This theory comes from the Funcom forums and a legend in the game and community, Roderick. First I drop my tools and strip nude in partial exposure. I've heard full exposure works even faster, but I'm not one to tempt the gods by being greedy, and besides I can't move this bedroll. The theory we're testing is that every time you die naturally counts as a login, which if true will prove to be the easiest way to grow your purge bar without having to do anything at all. Even though it's low effort, it kind of rebalances the scale if you ask me. After a few times this method does the trick, and my purge bar surged toward the first hash. Roderick, you are a go-to source of advice, and a credit to Funcom's forums, and because your tip ended up on the air, I've already reached out to you about the DLC of your choice. Thanks for being so awesome, my friend. I hope you enjoy the Riddle of Steel. Continuing the theme of dying repeatedly, this was by no means a quick fix. What looks like about 1/10 of the bar took about 5 hours, AFK. In retrospect, I might have lit the candle a little early on worrying about the purge. In other words, the purge was not imminent. By using the word imminent, I have raised this channel's relevance by 150%, as imminent threats are a big part of today's news. While I know there are many places for you to get your Conan Exiles content, this one in particular is scripted by a holder of a bachelor's degree in English, so at the very least you can be certain there will be words. The smell of an unlucky creature purge was, however, heavy in the air. Still, I'd reserve just the thing for just this occasion to try and make me feel better, and with little fanfare, Roderick Steelyhooves joined the team. This fine specimen is actually my first horse since a few early tries on test live. Yet thanks to my being a well-stocked taming specialist / hoarder, Roderick Steelyhooves and I hit it off straight away thanks to a handful of delicious Highland berries. This instantly makes him feel more likely to become stronger, more agile and vital, and for a moment while coordinating my drifts, I strongly consider smearing some Highland berries on myself. It was just what I needed after all, and it didn't take long to get the hang of drifting, jousting, and mounted combat. I have to say, despite my feelings of an impending, fruitless purge, hanging with Roderick really took the tension off. After a bit, Roderick and I consult on his personal growth and come to an understanding that 7 easy levels of effortlessly careening into stuff might soon turn into tears and a big splash. Thanks to my reckless desire to slash things. Leaving well enough as it is, I took Roderick in for the night and planned for the coming bug hunt. You may already have detected that this base is on the outskirts of Seppermaru, on the western mesa between Clail's Stronghold and Relic Watcher Rise, considering I have two other main bases. In the Highlands, and on the fringe of the unnamed city inside the Darfari zone, my extended presence near Set City today represents my near assurance of where this purge will be. And finally, because I've been through it before, I can also deduce which creatures will attack. This makes things extra casual. We don't really have a clock in Conan Exiles, so I moved some seeds around in order to check the server time. This keeps me vigilant enough with watching the event log, which is a good thing because there was no purge horn, and so I spot the purge only 2 minutes into the 10-minute warning. Because there's no purge countdown right now on the screen, and no map marker either, experience tells me this could be a broken purge. So I log out and back in again. Happily, the login restored my purge back to normal, map marker and all. Picture the shocked look on my face. Plague of locusts. Prepping for a locust purge consists mostly of arming and moving my archers, and preparing my fighters. I choose Archer Philip to guard this rocky bulge because past locust purges have spawned within that rock, and he's not called Philip the Horrible for nothing. In other words, if he goes down swinging, I will not complain. Finally, I momentarily forget the no-build rules and try to slap on an elevator. Crap, I can't build up there. With some time to spare, I grab some lobster and make ready for the chitinous onslaught. For today's fight, I'm rolling with Jesse, who's just getting started, and Val Resnick, who's been my go-to for some time now, but who I'm holding back in his teens for as long as possible because I think it builds character. Considering Val's hairstyle as a skeleton, I suspect he's simply handling his male pattern baldness like a boss. Retracting his adolescence might be good for Val's testosterone levels, and as we run to meet our fate, this thought warms my mighty heart. Are they coming around the mountain or what? You know what? Val? You're with me. Oh look, they're all stuck down here. These are ritzy. I like on a treasure seeker. Ritz. Oh, look, there they are. Ugh. I'll say that to my friend Val. Jesse. Jesse. Try not to screen me next time, will you, Jess? All in all, Val and Jesse work really well, and in short order make piles of corpses out of the locusts and reapers. During this fight, I momentarily forgot I've got antidotes, so with 8 stacks of poison I retreat and fumble through my inventory. Shortly thereafter, I put antidote on my hotbar, because like that old saying says, got me once, shame on me, got me twice, I deserve to die by poisoning. For a purge with very little of work to show for it, this one is actually pretty fun. Except getting flanked by some rogue jerk-offs who go after my Vault Lodge. In retrospect, I should have parked Philip the Horrible over there. But that's how you learn, I suppose. Perhaps my antipathy worked counter to my desire. Another thing I learned is locusts apparently do not admire my Spartan, masculine sense of RP, and went immediately after my haystack and stuffed lion. For the record, that piece of taxidermy was sentimental to me. I stole that lion fair and square some time ago, from a player who's no longer around. For a moment, disappointment sets in. One thing that definitely didn't let me down was the combat dodge roll, probably because I can do it wearing heavy armor now. The changes to the dodge roll mechanic have been controversial, and for some, game stifling. Let's take a minute to break it down. We'll be talking about 30 frames per second here. The old roll is on the right, the new roll is on the left. The old roll covers 5 meters in 10 frames. The new roll covers 5 meters in 30 frames. Chaining 3 old rolls, you could cover 15 meters in 30 frames. That equals 15 meters per second. For reference, The force of gravity is 9.8 meters per second per second. Now, I'm no physicist, but I played one on TV once, and that's exactly enough experience to tell me that tumbling at 1.5 times the speed of gravity is kinda whack. If American Ninja Warrior is a suitable citation, human foot speed maxes out somewhere around 32 kilometers per hour, or 8.9 meters per second. Chaining 3 new rolls, you can cover 15 meters in about 3 seconds. If you execute the roll earlier, you won't travel as far, so for this demo we'll stick to the timing needed to cover 15 meters. This rate is just under 5 meters per second, or about 5/8 the top human speed, which is not too shabby. 5 meters per second leaves room for upward adjustments until we reach, or even slightly exceed, top human speed. I mean, in Conan Exiles, even the buffness is pretty epic, so athletic excellence is a given. Purge successfully pulled off, I set about putting back my staff and dropping off any purge yields that I don't want to bring inside. While bringing my thralls back to position, I kept Val Resnick on follow, as I had done countless times before, but by the time he made it back to be parked, he'd lost half his health. If he'd been wounded or weaker, he would likely have died. Making Val follow, in fact, was so mundane that I made no recording of it. This next part shows some earlier footage from my Crown Grove base to help emphasize a series point about thrall fall damage. Looking at his damage, for a moment I think about kicking myself, but instead consider making an overly long YouTube video to help spread the word about this problem. I'm reminded of my groomsman from my wedding. Just because he can do 14 successful balance beam tricks on the poolside handrail doesn't mean the next 14 won't end up making his face look unphotographable. I find the same holds true for Val. Just because he'd never fallen doesn't mean he won't try his hand at base jumping in the future. Incidentally, at that same wedding, my old man handed out some wisdom that I think also applies here. If in doubt, move it about. This evening, to celebrate my discoveries, the finished purge, and the fact that Val hadn't just died uselessly, it seemed like a good time to make a new friend. Welcome to the world, Adrian Beakey. May all your peckers be nasty. Adrian and I set out eventually for the fine citizens of Sepper Maru, where for some reason they responded negatively to my good-natured ribbing. This did not seem to overly escalate, as Adrian is the perfect height for pecking the domes of anybody unlucky enough to come after me. He's not terribly tough, and he doesn't do a lot of damage yet, but if he keeps hitting people on the bean and making that sound, he'll be in my life forever. Speaking of infinity, you've used up another 13 minutes of it here with me, and for that, all of you are among my list of heroes. If the word hero is too presumptuous, please take no offense at my Colorado-style familiarity. You are, at the very least, each a rock star. As always, this is Barnes, playing PvP official as the legendary Tascowat. May all your flesh be exquisite, and all your tames be greater. Until next time.